Hey, what's going on, roleplayers? It's the Bard here, and welcome back to the corner. Today's video is all about being at one with the shadows as we analyse that most slippery of classes, the Rogue. Back in the day, classic Rogue was light armor, no magic, light weapons. It was a class that was just based entirely on skill. And I still like to look at Rogue in that way, a class that's just pure skill and nothing else. Even though in modern day D&D pretty much everyone has access to spells, I still like to think of the Rogue in terms of not having any magic and just being a character based completely on the self, and everything that the Rogue can do can come from within. Even though D&D is a group game, I think the Rogue mindset is very much one of I can't rely on anyone but myself. I think I definitely want to explore that a bit further down the road. In the meantime though, let's look at what the Rogue can do in modern day D&D. So these days the Rogue enjoys D8 hit points, which makes life a lot easier in comparison to older editions where you had only D6 for things like 2nd and 3rd. So it was very difficult to be a Rogue in the past, especially when you couldn't rely on things like magic or heavy armor like some of the other classes can. The Rogue has gained a little bit of durability, but in order to be realistic it's had to keep its light armor proficiency, so it doesn't gain anything there beyond just regular padded or studded leather. But that's fine because you want to be light, you want to be nimble, and you want skills that also reflect that as well. Rogues really aren't defensive characters, however. They are just get in, get the job done, and get out again, and that's reflected really well in their weapon selection. Modern day rogues now have access to all simple weapons as well as hand crossbows, which is great for just hit and run, long swords, which is actually fairly useful if you do end up in a stand-up fight for whatever reason, rapiers, which are great finesse weapons, and the basic short sword as well. So you have a really solid selection of weapons that you can choose from. As well as that, you also have access to thieves' tools because you're going to be the one disarming all the traps and opening all the locks, at least in theory. You have to understand that this isn't solely your domain anymore. Having proficiency with thieves' tools doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a thief or a rogue. Anyone can pick it up now, but people will still be looking at you in the classical sense to deal with all of those traps and all of those locks. Even though they themselves might even have proficiency with those tools, more than likely someone is going to turn to you as playing a rogue and saying, can you do something about that lock? Or can you disarm this trap? Even though they might even have the sense enough to do it themselves. The thing is, it's all about context, and when you understand that you are a skillful character, people look at you in that respect. Since anyone can pick up the criminal background or something similar, they can all have access to thieves' tools if they so desire. They can all have access to deception and stealth. However, people will always seek to look to you as that particular kind of character who deals with all of those things, such as locks and traps. Everyone's got a preconceived notion in their mind, and you need to use that to your advantage, in the same way that the rogue needs to use everything to their advantage. Unless you're taking a very particular route for your roguish archetype, you don't have any magic tricks to fall back on. You only have your wits and you only have your skill. Rogues have both dexterity and intelligence saving throws, so they're balanced between physical and mental, useful for getting out of harm's way when it comes to AoE, and also useful for dealing with certain things like illusions. When it comes to skills, guys, don't forget, backgrounds offer freebies, and certain races also offer free skills as well, so just make sure that you pick up the ones that you don't get from your backgrounds. So you've got a good choice of skills at your disposal, because you're going to be dealing with everything from the slow-witted barbarian to the arrogant intellectual wizard, and that's just within your own party. That's not including the things you'll see on your adventures. I'm going to go into this more in a later video because I think it's something that really does add a lot of context to the characters and the game itself, as well as being more than just the physical aspects and the mechanical things that they can do. But essentially, you're going to be the party's babysitter, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. That's going to be your role, as well as dealing with creatures, dealing with traps, dealing with pretty much everything that people need you to do. So let's get into the skills then. Starting with acrobatics, unless you expect to be doing a lot of flips, rolls, somersaults, tumbles, or balancing, you can probably choose to ignore this one and move on to something with a little bit more relevance like athletics. Athletics is going to be particularly useful for things like climbing. No doubt the mages aren't going to want to use spells for levitate if you can actually climb up there and do it yourself. It's really not difficult to climb a rope, even if you are a weak wizard or an armored warrior. But in order to get that rope in place, you're going to have to do the climbing yourself. Adventure doesn't always have a trail leading up the mountain. Adventure doesn't always have a set of stairs leading down to the dungeon. You're going to have to be the one who's going to go rock climbing or spelunking in order to set up a rope so that the rest of your party can get to where they need to go. Deception, intimidation, persuasion, as I've said before in previous videos, they all roughly fall within the same sphere, but I still think deception is of more value than anything else, due to the fact that chiefly you can use it in so many more situations. Going by the examples in the book alone, deception is the stronger of the skills, so it's probably worth picking that one up over the other two. Disguises, gambling, lying, useful skills for the rogue. If you need to persuade someone to do something, get the paladin to do it. And if you want some intimidation, that's why you have the big hulking barbarian behind you. There's an old saying that goes, never do anything yourself if you can get someone else to do it for you. Insight investigation can be particularly useful when it comes to discovering about the mundane things. Your wizard might be a sage who is so obsessed with knowledge, but chances are they're going to be too wrapped up in the arcane and the deeper mysteries of the world. Someone's going to have to do the legwork, and no doubt it's going to be you. So insight and investigation both represent good skills that you might want to consider picking up. Perception is one of those top tier skills that you really do need to have, especially if you don't have a ranger in the group. Everyone's going to expect you to scout ahead, and you need to see the dangers before anyone else does. So perception is a very good pick. But again, if you can get it from somewhere else and not have to take it from your core class skills, then get it from somewhere else. Performance is a skill that can probably be left to the bard. Chances are you're not going to need it, and you definitely don't need it to make a living. And if it's trying to convince someone, then you've got better skills for doing that. That just leaves you open then for things like sleight of hand and stealth. Sleight of hand is obviously the core skill that most thieves want when it comes to pickpocket, however it's not the be all and end all. Stealth on the other hand is one of those super skills that you just need to have in order to make sure you can get around without getting noticed.
Beyond happiness and sadness, I need to calculate what creates my own madness.
If you needed any confirmation that you are the party's babysitter, this would be it. Expertise is doubling your proficiency on any two skills of your choice, and it does so again when you hit level 6. You get this right at the very beginning of the game, making you an absolute god when it comes to skills. It would be very easy for me to say this is what you get and then move on to the next ability, but I really want to press the fact that a game is really reliant on its skill base. If a game handles skills correctly, then skills make the game. You can have all the powers, abilities, and magic in the world, but if you don't have a strong foundation of skills, then the game really doesn't have any depth to it. And this is my one big gripe with 5th edition, and I'm not trying to knock it, but just understand this. 5th edition covers skills on roughly 4.5 pages. 3.5 did it over 25 pages. That's the big difference. But in 5th edition's defense, your skills cover a greater variety of things. One skill is equal to 3 or maybe 4 skills in a previous edition, so it makes your proficiency bonus that much more important when you apply it to your skills. So being able to double that up right from the get-go, you've got a very, very strong character when it comes to just skill and talent. So if certain skills are getting double proficiency, and those skills have multiple uses, then that's double proficiency across all of those extra things, allowing you to be so versatile when it comes to just the talent-based and the non-magical stuff that you can do. I really can't say anything about sneak attack that hasn't been said before, except how it just increases in damage the more you progress down the rogue route. Sneak attack easily keeps you on par with the other characters in the party when it comes to damage, but you want to give it a little bit of context. At the top end, this thing gets like 10d6 additional damage. If you can get a critical hit on that, that becomes 20d6 additional damage. You compare it to other classes like Ranger for example, they might be lucky to get 1d8 out of their additional damage. So you have got a big pool of dice that you can use for damaging creatures. You're an opportunist character. Make sure you take advantage of the opportunities, and you're going to want to do that using other abilities. One of the best ways to get into the position where you can make full use of your sneak attack is the cunning action. This ability allows you to disengage as a bonus action. Because your movement is split over your turn, you can walk up to a creature, make your sneak attack, disengage as a bonus action, and walk away again. Cunning action gives you that hit and run style of gameplay. It allows you to make your attack and get out before they can retaliate. If they do want to retaliate, they usually have to move to you. This could mean taking an attack of opportunity from some other people in your party. So mostly it's just in their interest to stay where they are and fight what's in front of them, rather than trying to retaliate against you. If ranged combat is more your thing, then you can use hide instead. You get to move, hide as a bonus action, and then make an attack with advantage from your hidden position. For you new players, cunning action is one of the best weapons in your arsenal. Make sure you're using it all the time. Thieves can't. Thieves can't what? Well, it turns out thieves can't communicate. Now this is a really great ability if you have an entire party full of rogues, because you can talk amongst yourselves and no one will know what you're saying. But unless it's a very specific kind of game, adventuring parties usually don't consist solely of rogues.
Hey, by gum, lad, that Bob is brown bread. I pushed him down to apples and pears.
You'd be much better off just saying, that guard's dead, I pushed him down the stairs. It's a really fun narrative ability, but unless there's another rogue in the group, you'll never get to use it. Uncanny Dodge. Starting at level 5, when an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to halve the attack's damage against you. All the time? Every round? Whenever you need it? That's absolutely insane. You can actually stack that up with things like Barbarian Rage or Blade Ward or other things like that, and you can reduce the damage down so low that you barely even notice it. If that wasn't enough, then having half damage on area of effect spells automatically is an amazing ability. And that's working on the assumption that you fail your saving throw. You automatically take half damage regardless. If you actually make your save, you don't take any damage at all. Rogue has a ridiculous amount of defenses. You're taking half damage from weapons, you can take half damage from area spells. You have so many defenses that your light armor is basically superfluous. So reliable talent allows you to treat any dice roll that is 9 or lower as 10 when you apply it to an ability check that has your proficiency modifier added on. So if that ability score is based on a skill that has double proficiency and even an average ability score, you can easily call 20 before you even make a roll. You're getting an automatic 10 plus your proficiency modifier, which is 4. Even if you have a very low ability score, which gives you only a +1 or +2, you're still getting somewhere between 15 and 16 automatically, and that's a very good score. So you're getting just very, very consistent successes. In certain cases, the difficulty might be higher, but you are consistently able to pull 15s out of nowhere. Blind Sense, as long as you can hear, you know exactly where a hidden or invisible creature is, as long as it's within 10 feet of you. Yeah, perception be damned, the creature's right there. Immediately in the level afterwards, you get Slippery Mind. Yes, I feel like I deserve an additional proficiency in saving throws, so give me wisdom saving throws just because. At level 18, no attack has advantage against you, providing you're not incapacitated, because clearly we don't have enough defenses, do we? And finally we have Stroke of Luck, one of the few rogue abilities that actually has a cap on how often you can use it. It's per short or long rest. Sorry rogue, you missed your target. Yeah, well stick you DM, I'm gonna hit it anyway. I'm sorry, you fail when it comes to convincing that person to give you all of their wealth and money and magical items. Yeah, well actually I don't, because natural 20 bitches! That's right, you treat the D20 roll as a 20. Not a total of 20, a natural 20. Alright, I realise I'm being hyperbolic, and the DM is well within their rights to say that just plain does not work, because no one would ever believe it. But the principle is still there. This is a really important roll, it's important that you don't fail it. Well, I automatically succeed. This is a really important attack, you need to make sure you hit, and I automatically do. Just having these auto confirms is really, really powerful, and I'm wondering if it's just too good. I understand that it's at level 20, but still, it's a pretty impressive feat to have. No, officer, I don't care how many people say they saw me. I didn't kill him. Well guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. That was the basics of Rogue. We're going to go further into the analysis with the archetypes in the later videos. Hopefully you guys will stick around to watch that. Rogue is one of the most intense classes that I've seen, and some of its abilities are just way off the scale. It has damage that is comparable to a fighter in your group, and of course you have absolutely some of the best defenses in the entire game. All of this from just skill and talent alone, and not requiring any kind of martial proficiency or any kind of magical abilities. And we haven't even gone over the archetypes yet. Also guys, keep throwing out your video ideas, character concepts, rules, interpretations, whatever it is that floats your boat, just make sure you put it in a comment and I will have a read. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you guys next time at the gaming table.